people see other people like, well, she's B. Simone, or this is Megan Ashley. Of course they have a podcast. They've been in the industry for how long or whatever. They've been friends for 20 years.
You've got fame, you've got notoriety, you've got millions of followers.
6.6 million people don't know me.
If I'm following my purpose, then the person that I'm supposed to be with will align.
I don't think there's a way to raise your 12 without raising your Judas as well. Do you get what I'm saying?
Are you tapping my phone? I know.
The fact that you even brought up Judas
is crazy. She literally said this 2 days ago. Like, I used to move fast in relationships. I go on one little date. That's my husband. Girl, you don't know him.
It's like, this is who we are. Like, we started this podcast because our conversations were so good to us and other people.
Yeah.
But one of your landmark moments is probably when you said you're going to make £1 million. How'd you do it? Hello everyone and welcome to all the Elevate team and you blind angels out there. It's so good to be with you all in your phone, on your phones, in your houses, wherever you're watching us. I hope that you stay tuned today. I have a special guests with me, 2 special guests with me that I'm looking forward to for the longest time, to interviewing and being with. I have been binging on videos and content and all kinds of things today. And so I'm so excited to welcome today to our podcast 2 extraordinary entrepreneurs that have chosen to grace the United Kingdom today and also enjoy our brilliant weather that we've got out here. I want to introduce Megan Ashley and B. Simone, guys. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being here. How are you finding England so far?
We love it. Yeah. We're
Outside
just cold. We love it. The
Yeah.
people are so nice and we've been having a good time.
Awesome. And you're here for how long in the UK?
We leave
Monday.
Monday.
So we'll
Yeah,
be here
in 2 days.
5 days total, I think.
Yep.
5 days.
5 days total.
And if you just let us know, just as we're starting, a little bit about what you're doing here in the UK, what's brought you to our shores.
Yeah, we this is our first time out of the country together as best friends.
Okay.
We've been best friends for 20 years, and we
Wow.
started a podcast about 8 months ago called the Know For Sure podcast. You guys check it out. It's about healing, growing, evolving, having the tough conversations as Black women in the industry.
Nice.
And yeah, we just wanted to come over here. We have a lot of supporters in the UK. Like
You do.
they comment and
You
they
do.
DM us.
The moment you posted on my Instagram,
Yeah.
everybody's freaking
They
out.
went
Oh my
crazy.
goodness. Yeah.
So we wanted to come over here, just do like a press run and
Nice.
network and have like a little influencer dinner. We're doing a dinner for the podcast because next year we want to come back and do our first live show overseas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And you also got your merch here as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this
The
merch?
Know For Sure merch. It is unisex, so guys and girls
Yep.
can enjoy it. But it'll be on our website, theknowforsure.com.
Absolutely. Tell us a bit more about the podcast as well, the Know For Sure podcast. What does that stand for? What does that mean to you?
So that kind of came about, the name kind of came about because it was something that we say all the time between us. We would say like, no, for sure. It's like, that means like absolutely. Without a
Okay.
doubt.
Yeah.
So we'd be like, no, for sure. And when we were coming up with the podcast name, our names were terrible. They were
We had a
really bad.
list. I still have them on my phone,
Yeah,
I think.
they were really, really bad. And I was like, we should just say no. We should just call it No For Sure.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's it.
That's it.
And so we usually say it as N-O, No For Sure, like No For Sure.
Yeah.
But we named it K-N-O-W so that you know for sure.
Yeah. Like, what do you know for
yeah,
sure?
what do you know for
Awesome.
sure?
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Do you mind if I just dig straight into a
Let's
little bit
get
of your
it.
lives and stories? Obviously, what we're doing right now, we're talking about elevate, getting your life to the next level and all that. I'm almost certain that you both didn't land on top of the mountain. You're both extremely successful in what you do. If I met, let's start with you, B. Simone. If I met a young B. Simone, I bumped into you in high school, who am I meeting?
Who are you meeting? The class clown.
Okay.
I'm artsy. I was, in music and dance and acting, kind of all the things I'm doing now.
Okay.
But I didn't really know it. I knew I wanted to be in the industry, like entertainment, but I didn't know exactly what. I always thought I was going to do music.
Okay.
So I still do music whenever I want, but I don't like push that comedy took off first. So I kind of got, you know, popping on social media, and I started doing comedy and stand-up, and I fell in love with it.
And so would you say you've been this confident, this exuberant?
Yeah, pretty confident, just happy, fun. My personality just was always like goofy.
Okay. And going down, obviously you're creative, so going down that creative route in what you're doing, was there always the support for, because obviously there's conventional ways of doing life. For example, I'm from Nigerian home. In a Nigerian home, it's basic maths, biology, chemistry. If I tell my parents I want to rap,
they're like, what is that? Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah,
exactly. So how you brokered that conversation, how you dealt with that coming up, was there always the support that was necessary to
I actually did have support from my family, my grandmother, my dad. My whole family supports me. My mom, they very, very proud of me. So I went out of high school and did cosmetology school. So I told my grandmother I didn't want to go to college. She was like, if you don't go to college, what do you want to do? I was like, I'll do hair while I'm trying to figure out, you know, because I love doing hair. So she put me through cosmetology school, and I did hair while I was grinding.
Your parents are sweet to my parents.
Yeah. Yeah, they supported me. Yeah.
Nice. And about you, if I met you at a young age where you were always this confident, outspoken woman, let's say I met you before high school, I meet you in primary school, who am I bumping into?
Dang.
Wow.
I was always like, you know, the friend that everybody kind of went to, or, you know, I was always the person that people gravitated to. I think I've been like that since I was young. Not because my personality is just super big, but
it's her spirit.
Yeah, it's just people have always just gravitated to me, or been attracted to whatever is inside me, which I hope is they see the God in me, and that's what they're attracted to. But that would be my like consistent character since then. Like I've been the same since that.
Yeah.
So you guys have always believed in yourself, always believed that you could do it. There was not.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been roadblocks. There's been moments where I've been crying or sad or discouraged, but it was either sit in that and give up, or either way, you're going to have problems. So you might as well try. Yeah. Like, I do feel like I'm very confident in my belief. Like, when I believe something, I believe it. Even if it's this crazy, outlandish idea, might sound crazy to somebody else, but I truly, truly believe anything can happen.
And where do you get that spark from? Where does that belief come from? Because I feel like, you know, you're talking to a lot of people right now, especially if you look at sort of millennial, Gen Z type of generation. I think they're hugely gifted, like massively talented. They just haven't found the spark. They don't know what it is that's going to get them off the ground.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
What is it for you? Like, for example, for me, I hit probably rock bottom when I lived in a mouse-infested, cockroach-infested house. And I was, at the time, married. Now I had a reason more than myself. I have a child as well. I went to become an Uber driver to try and figure out what to do. The spark, there were a few sparks in my life. One of them was a teacher who really believed in me above every other teacher. I was useless in school, class clown as well. But one teacher really believed in me. That was my first spark. My second spark was bumping into a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Everybody seems to have read that book. Uncle Robert, So it's like bumping into that book sparked something in me and made me really go full throttle. What was your spark? What ignited you both?
I would say for me, man, I could say like specifically if I had to point out one specific thing, when my son got diagnosed with autism, my middle son, he was diagnosed with autism. I think that was like a major shift in my life. And it didn't happen right away, like in a positive way right away. But it was the tragedy of it all for me, and you know, it's not a tragedy that I have a son with special needs, but when you get that when you get that news that like there's something incurable happening to your child.
What age was he when you found that? 2.
He was diagnosed at 2, so when you get something like that, you have to go through like a grieving process, because you're grieving the fantasy that you had of what could have been or what you thought was going to be, and now it's not. But going through that process, I found that it was the spark that kept me, like, it motivated. He's completely nonverbal. And it was the thing that gave me my language. Like, it was that experience that caused me to start openly talking about my experiences. that helped other people and helped me at the same time. So that was like that one thing that really like is always that spark for
So
me.
your children are your why, really? What would you
Yeah,
say?
I mean they are a big part of my why, for sure. They're not all of my why, and I don't know if that's healthy to make them all of my why, because they're gonna grow up and live their own lives, right? And I'm still gonna be stuck with Megan. So I try to find like this self-motivated thing that if no one else existed, can I still find that drive within myself without needing? Because if I need you and then you're, and you're not there anymore, then I'm dependent. My motivation is dependent on that.
That's
And
good.
I just don't think that that's fair. That's not fair to other people. That's not fair to myself. So you have to find, it has to come from within you. Like it's my spirituality, my relationship with God. Like
Yeah.
that is that thing that always is here. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that's like that major spark for sure.
Yeah. I've always been pretty driven. I can't pinpoint one moment or one thing. I think there's been a lot of moments in my life, but I will say, because your question, you said, how do other people get inspired? I feel like I've always believed. I just was a born believer. It was in me from a young age, just optimistic, believing anything can happen. And I feel like a lot of people let their circumstances keep their mindset negative. So even if you're not naturally like that, you can change your mindset and become that. But it's a practice. So I will encourage anybody that if you're not naturally like optimistic or I can do anything or I believe this, I believe that, I feel like I've always naturally been like that. I don't know if there was anything that sparked me to that. Maybe God just put that in me from birth. But if you don't have that mindset, I do believe it can shift. It's going to be work. It's going to be hard, but you can change your mindset to being positive.
One thing that probably fascinates me a lot is how our environment goes to make who we are.
Absolutely.
It shapes us
Absolutely.
in certain ways. One of the story I read was about people who, I don't know why people have these things, but flea circus. Some people own like a flea circus. They put fleas in something and they let them jump over stuff and whatever. But they found that when they put them in a container, even if they can jump 10 times higher, they reach a level and they come back down.
Yep.
When those fleas have children, they don't need to teach them. The children just jump to the exact same level as the older. I've always been
Wow.
fascinated about how our environment frames us.
Yeah.
Now, you said you've always been optimistic.
Yeah.
Did your environment have anything to do with that?
I grew up, I'm not going to act like I come from poverty. I had everything I needed. My grandmother took care of me. I lived with my dad, then I moved with my grandmother. But we were like in the hood of Dallas. So I wouldn't say my environment was that positive, but maybe the household I was in was. So my grandmother like poured life into me, whether it was not affirmations, but like, I love you, or, I believe in you. You're great at this. Like even when I was doing hair in her kitchen, it was always positivity. So that probably had a lot to do with it. Like I had a lot of love in my home with her, So yeah, it might have been that. My environment wasn't really the best, though. I would say that. Like I went to a pretty hood high school. we grew up in Gahanna, so that was
Suburban.
a suburban. I was first in Dallas, the hood of Dallas. Went to Gahanna, then I came back. But I think my household was loving. And I had moments too when I was with my dad where it wasn't so loving, but I was always positive. I don't know where that comes from.
I think that's just like a God-given
God,
thing.
I think
'cause
it's
you've always
God.
been that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, just always positive, like loving, wanting the best, always optimistic. I see the glass half full. I'm like that in every situation.
So you've always had an idea, no matter what, you're born for greatness.
Always.
You're gonna be great.
Yeah.
Things are going
yeah.
to.
Just
So
creative, and if I see something, I can do it. If I believe in something, I believe I can have it. Yeah.
one, I think of your landmark moments. I think you've been around since MySpace time, right?
Yeah. Literally, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
But
yeah.
one of your landmark moments is probably when you said you're gonna make £1 million.
Yeah.
And how long did you give yourself?
30 days. But it was 30 days to make the rest of it. I already had like 1/3 of it.
Okay.
So yeah, I wanted to make the rest of it in 30 days so I could have it liquid in my account. Yeah.
Sure. How'd you do it? Give us the formula. Give us the run through. 30 days to make
I literally just vocalized it. I said I was going to do it. And I think, what else too? Like this goes back to like my weight loss journey, holding yourself accountable. So I said it publicly. So once you say it, like I'm going to do this, and you tell everybody I'm going to do this, it's like you have something to prove. I did that with my weight loss. I'm like, if I really want to lose weight, let me just start an Instagram. And I said day 1. So 6 months later, if I'm still the same size as day 1, that's going to be embarrassing. So I held myself publicly accountable. Yeah. But I just believed it. I had ideas. I did different things. It was like a task, like a fun experiment, kind of. Like that goes back to the manifestation things, but believing it and working towards it. You can't just believe something without doing the groundwork and having ideas to get it done. Okay. Yeah.
So your idea you already had, which what was it that you were running with at that time that you did it?
I was just like, anything that, by any means, I'm going to use all my talents. So I hadn't done hair for a while. I went back to doing hair. I did meet and greet Be Simone. I had a beat up Toyota. I sold my car for like $900, or they didn't even give me nothing for it. But I just did all of these things. I was like, okay, how can I use my platform? Oh, I can shout people out, $200 shout outs. But I got so many people to pay. I think I made like 40,000 in one day off shout outs or something. So I just kept using all of my talents and my gifts and my platform to make revenue. Yeah.
So that being said, because I think what you're saying right now is so relevant to our current culture, especially I'd say amongst black people. If we could get a little bit controversial. You look at black people today. A lot of black people believe that they're stuck.
Yeah.
Nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Is this crippling, in your opinion? Is it, obviously there's some parts that might be a reality to people. I have a belief that whatever you believe is true.
For sure.
It's true.
For sure.
Like you go to movies and you're watching a film. Let's say you're watching Freddy Krueger, whatever your favorite horror movie is. You're jumping off the back of your chair because this guy is coming to attack someone. They're not attacking you.
Right.
But your mind, they call it suspended disbelief. You're in a state now where it's like, this is really happening.
Wow.
And in that moment, you feel it's happening. I was reading a story about a guy, I was telling my mentorship group just the other day, a story about a guy who got locked in an industrial freezer. He's a butcher. He gets locked there all night. The next morning, they find him dead. But they also realized, and they found him dead, he had frozen to death, but the freezer was off. His body had created the condition for him that he had frozen to death.
Wow.
That's how strong and crippling the mind
Yeah.
is.
Wow.
So that being said, looking at our world today, I call it kind of, our world is engaged in sort of victim Olympics. Who's the strongest? Who's the best victim? I got this going on, I've got that going on. You've kind of proven it wrong in a way. You're black, you know, you haven't come, you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
For sure.
You know, both of you are very accomplished. What would be your message to your community, if we could call it that? What would be your message to them, especially somebody who's sitting down angry saying, well, you know, she's B. Simone, and you guys are, you're not in this. What's your message to them?
What do you think?
I think it's, going back to what you said about whatever you believe is your reality. So, but I think that you have to know that if you can see it, everybody has dreams, right? So like, even if you're in an environment that is nowhere conducive to the dreams that you dream, you still see those images in your head. You can still see yourself doing the thing that you really want to do. So if you can see it, then it exists. And I think that you have to believe that. And it's the hardest thing in the world is to change a mentality. That's so hard to give people tools because that is a decision. You have to decide
every single day.
Change your mindset. You know what I mean? You have to decide what type of mentality that you want to have. So it's very hard to kind of give people tools to that. But one thing I will say that if you can see it, then it exists.
What were some things you did to change your mind? What would you say? You know, I've said to people, there are lies we tell ourselves. There are things we believe, you know, almost like we've been lied to. Maybe my grandma's favorite line is that the devil is a liar, you know, that's what she'd always tell me. And she'll say, just like it's natural for a Yoruba man to speak Yoruba, someone to speak Portuguese, he lies. Like, let's just say there's a swarm of lies going around, people's lives all day. What were some of the lies you had to address in your own life that you believed at one point, that you look back on yourself and go, who was that person who believed that?
I have been really public about my bipolar depression, And when you have bipolar depression, there's a lot that comes with that, and anxiety and depressive to me is like trying to place your body in the past and in the future, and it's not physically possible. So when you have anxiety and depression, no wonder why you have like physical manifestations of those things, because you can't physically be
Do that.
in the past or in the future. And so I think that, one, for me, I had to know what my truth was. Like, how do you know, like, what is your source of truth? For me, it was God's word, and anything that did not reflect what God would say to me or what he would say to me in his word was a lie.
Yeah.
So anything that I had to take a minute to go back, and we say this all the time on our podcast, think about what you're thinking about, is something my mom told me growing up all the time. You need to think about what you're thinking about. Think about what you're thinking about. I had to go back and take inventory of the lies that didn't reflect what God told me. So I would think I was unworthy, but he says I'm
You
worthy,
are,
so that's
yeah.
a lie. You know what I mean? I had to look at it that way, and you know, tell myself what the truth, remind myself of the truth.
Yeah.
So I've reminded myself of the truth. I believe, how do I win in life still?
You have to work towards it.
Yeah.
Every single day you wake up, you have a choice to get up, go out there and hustle. You have a choice to sit in your bed and cry. You have I'm not saying it's easy. I don't know everybody's situation. You might have kids. You might be a single mother. You might not have a car. You might not have a roof over your head. But every single day you wake up is an opportunity to make a decision towards your future. So that's only for you to know, for you to say. You know, maybe you're doing a little bit better, inching. As long as you're moving forward, that's progress. You might not have all your dreams and have all the financial stability and the family and everything overnight, but every single day you wake up, you have a choice. So it's internal. You know, like you said, people see other people like, well, she's B. Simone, or this is Megan Ashley. Of course they have a podcast. They've been in the industry for how long or whatever. They've been friends for 20 years. It's still a choice. Every choice that we made throughout our lives got us to this point. You know, so just choose better.
What you just said is so crucial. I was listening to something actually the other day. I think it was Will Smith who was saying that his dad told him to build this wall around his house. It's so profound. There's this moment in the movie Pursuit of Happiness where he's like, he tells his son, "Don't you dare let anyone tell you you can't do anything." And he inserted that because that's what his dad said to him. His dad said, "Build a wall around this." So he said, "I can't do it." So I said, "Don't you dare let anyone tell you you can't." That was the beauty of it. He said, I learned that if I put one brick today so well, tomorrow I can put another one on top. I think what people try to do sometimes, let's say
you want to see the house tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Let's say it's writing a book. You want to finish the book. That's what puts you off. Why don't you write a line, a paragraph, put something together by the time you come back to right. I got a question for you. You've got fame, you've got notoriety, you've got millions of followers online. I've got minuscule followers in comparison to you, maybe 60-something thousand followers, and it's overwhelming, right? I don't have 4.4 million. You're ruler of a nation right now. You practically you've got your own nation, a country of people. How are you managing all these people? Opinions are a dime a dozen, you know. It's like a belly button. Everyone's got one, and they all want to push you in their own direction, right? So how are you managing the pull of who people want you to be? Because I know you've had your fair share of controversies, you've had your fair share of attacks. I don't think it's possible to live where you live, walk where you walk, and not have people attack you or misunderstand you. I've had a few moments in my tiny microcosm where people have misrepresented me online, and you look at yourself and you think, is that me?
That's not me.
That's not me, but they all believe wholeheartedly that they know who you are, and they have
It kind of
no
goes
idea.
back to what she was saying. What is the truth? I had one of my darkest moments in 2020. During the pandemic, I had personal stuff, public stuff, and I will never forget. We got on the phone, and she was like, "What is the truth?" She made me say it out loud. Like, is this true? Are you a bad person? No. Do you have ill intent? No. And I was just, you know, she would just ask me questions. Does God love you? Yes. Like, she made me go through all the truth. So the world, the 6.6 million people don't know me. Right. They know who I am on the internet is a part of me, but it's not all of me. You know, that you don't know my heart, you don't know my spirit, you don't know me on a day-to-day basis. You're not with me. You don't see me crying at my house when my best friend is holding me and motivating me. You don't know me. So I focus on the truth. What is the truth? And as long as I'm being pure, I have pure intent, I'm being the best person I can. I try to be positive with my platform. I'm not trying to lead people astray. You know I'm a good person. I know I'm walking in my purpose. That's all I can do. After that, the rest is in God's hands, and we just go from there. Have a great circle around me. I have my best friend by my side, like, which is the best thing in the world. And yeah, I focus on that. I focus on the truth.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to remind yourself of that, because we're human. Like, those negative comments, sometimes it used to get to me, and sometimes I see it now, I'm like, just delete it and block them, you know. But at that first hit, like when it first happened, when I first got canceled or whatever, I was like, oh my God, no, like, I'm a good person, wait, you know. But it's like, you can't try to explain yourself to 6 million people. Yeah.
I think
So
you also have to know where the source of that comes from. Like, something my mom told me not too long ago, and she was like, you know if it's a trial, if it's accusatory, you know if it's a test, if it's a challenge. Like, if God is trying to challenge you somewhere, then it's if it's a challenge, then it's probably from God. If it's accusatory, then that's probably the enemy. So anything like that, I had to identify, like, oh well, I can't pay attention to that. I can't put energy into that, because that's not, it comes from a negative source.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to feed into that. Somebody seeing me online and creating a narrative in their head that is something they created. I have no
control over
that. So you just have to, like she said, know that you have to know who you are, who you're called to,
and fall in love with yourself. So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And then just if I can squeeze just a tiny bit more, if you one of the, and I've forgotten there's even cameras here now, to be honest, I'm asking you a question. If there was a way that was, how do I want to word this? I got this maybe from Les Brown. I think it was him who said it first. It's like OQP, only quality people. I think your circle makes or breaks you. And I think the higher you get in life, that circle's got to be tight. I don't think there's a way to raise your 12 without raising your Judas as well. Do you get what I'm saying? They come as part of the parcel. And I'm sure you've experienced your betrayals and things of that.
Are you tapping my phone? I know.
The fact that you even brought up Judas is hilarious.
It's crazy. She literally said this 2 days ago.
Yeah, that's crazy that you said that.
I think it's powerful how your faith has framed a lot of your life and a lot of your journey. I see a lot of people who can quote thousands of scriptures, but it's like they could never produce fruit of what it says. I actually think you might be the only Bible the world reads. If they ever wanted to know who God is, they're going to look at your life, they're going to look at the fruit of your life. But how have you chosen quality people? What I feel about the two of you, if I'm not wrong, you have big hearts. You want everybody to win. You want everyone to get along. And sometimes you bring in some people, you probably need people who tell you no, like, not this person. You probably need people to protect you from your own kindness in some ways. Like, how do you choose your people? How do you choose your circle?
I would, like, again, we're going through something now within our circle where we've had to reevaluate alignment, who's really aligned and who's really not. I think the lesson that I'm learning is that because I worked for B before, I was always the person, I was the guard, like, my alert was always up. I was the one protecting. And coming into a partnership now where we're both talent, I thought that I could still do that as talent, and I can't. And so I'm realizing, like, literally in this moment, I'm realizing that you need someone outside of yourself. You know what I mean? Outside of your position, outside of where you are, to be able to see what you might miss because you know what I mean? Like, of course, like you said, we are very open people.
Yeah.
We're very inviting.
Loving
We want to
and-
love you.
yeah.
And once you're in, with your family.
Family
And
forever,
it's like,
yeah.
you know, maturity, wisdom, that's not always
Wise.
And
Yeah.
but I'm also learning that you absolutely need people outside of yourself to protect you and see and be able to see what you can't see.
See what you can't see.
That's so
Yeah.
like
100%.
that is so important. I'm learning like
Yeah.
in this week. I'm
Yeah.
like, we need people outside of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
to-
And then
to
just
protect.
slowing down.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like a relationship. Like, I used to move fast in relationships. I go on one little date. That's my husband. Girl, you don't know him. You know, slow down. Wait. And then your heart ends up getting broken. Date, court. And it's the same thing with the team. Slow down. Get to know somebody. See if they prove themselves by their actions, not their words, you know, instead of just being like, day one, your family. I love your vibe. Love your energy. Let's go. Just slow down.
I think when people show you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sad because you want to see, you think you're going to see yourself in everybody and you don't.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's one of the biggest flaws of leaders. You expect yourself of others.
That's
You-
one of the biggest mistakes you
Yeah.
can make.
You think everybody's going to have the same level of sacrifice, same level of follow through, same level of thinking, and they just don't. They just don't. In closing, where's it going for you two? What's the vision? Because you're not done. You're just getting started, right? Right? Where's it
I
going?
think it's interesting because I don't think, I think that we see this vision that God has given us for what KFS is going to be, but you know how you can like feel and see it, but you don't know exactly
how he's going to do
you
it.
know what I mean, how he's going to do it and what all it looks like. One of my favorite scriptures is God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all you could ever ask or think. So whatever I think
It's going to be bigger than
I
that.
know it's going to be bigger than that. I think ultimately we want to show through our platform two major things. One, that platonic relationships are so important to your life. Your first relationship is a platonic relationship when you're born into this earth. So your platonic relationships can be very healing.
Yeah.
And we often see, and we've noticed even within ourselves, that we were so focused on like our romantic relationships that we didn't put that same effort into our platonic relationships. And this platonic relationship like literally was life changing, and it saved my life in so many ways. And it helped me be a better person, not just for me but for everyone in my life. And that was a platonic relationship that did that, where most people would say that a romantic relationship would do that. And then the other thing is just like being ourselves and being authentically us. And we were talking about not making our spirituality and our belief in God so taboo, like making that a part of our conversation.
It's who
not
we
saying
are.
you have to have, oh, you're a Christian podcast and you're an industry podcast or you're a God. It's like, this is who we are. Like we started this podcast because our conversations were so good to us and other people.
Yeah.
And 90% of those conversations were always centered around God.
Yeah.
That was just part of it.
It just happened, yeah.
So that would be like the two
Yeah.
biggest things. Is
Yeah.
to change that.
How do you, sorry, you're just saying more and it's just making me want to walk through this door now. Relationships. I see, one of the saddest things I see is powerful women who are very strong, visionary, dumb themselves down or lower their standards for,
A relationship.
because they have this ethos, men are intimidated by powerful women, so let me step myself down, let me dumb myself down, let me chill, let me relax a little bit. What's your philosophy on?
I will always choose my purpose and choose who God called me to be. And if love, and I would love to be a wife and have kids and have a family. Hopefully that's in God's plan and that comes along with it. But if I had to choose, either I'm going to sit down and not walk in my purpose and shut my mouth, or walk in my purpose, I'm always going to choose my purpose first. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think walking for the first time, I felt so aligned and fulfilled not being in a romantic relationship. Is kind of scary. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to feel good without a man, because then that means I might not ever, but it's like I feel great. I'm so like, this has been one of the best relationships ever in my life, and it showed me how to love better, how to work harder, how to care about people more, that the world doesn't revolve around you. Everybody's not like you. It showed me so much, and I've done the internal work. So I'm like, I feel great. And if somebody comes along and can add to my life, cool. But if not, I'm going to continue to walk in my purpose, you know? So I'm excited about the journey I'm on.
I was listening to something that was said by the wife of Martin Luther King, said after everything that happened to Martin, they threw stones through your window, they beat up your kids. Why did you stay married? And even he was a bit of a tricky guy as well, but she said, when I married Martin, I didn't marry a man, I married a purpose. And that's so profound that you just said, you know.
And when God calls you, he's not just calling you, he calls everyone attached to that.
Wow.
And so if I'm following my purpose, then the person that I'm supposed to be with will align with that.
Purpose first.
Purpose first.
It has to
Purpose
be.
first.
It absolutely has to be.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on
Thank
this
you.
podcast. You guys are awesome. You're inspirational. The UK welcomes you.
Thank you.
Like,
Can't
please come back
Great.
again.
We'll be back next
In
year.
the summer.
I know. Not in December.
We will not
But
ever
in the
do that
summer,
again.
you have to watch out for our pollen. Hay fever here is
I will
serious.
sneeze.
I'd rather sneeze than freeze.
I will sneeze.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you on here, and I hope we get to talk again. Appreciate it.
Check out the Know For Sure podcast, you guys. Episodes drop every Wednesday on YouTube. And yeah, exclusive content on our Patreon. So they get all the goodies and first
All the
dibs
behind the scenes
on
of
everything. Yeah. So thank you so much for having us. This was a great interview.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
thank you,
Appreciate
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
What's up, you guys? I'm B. Simone.
I'm Megan Ashley.
From the Know For Sure podcast. And if you guys are in town,
You need to
February
be there.
4th,
February
Elevate, the Elevate event. Don't miss it. If you miss it, sorry for you. You missed out.
missed
But
out.
make sure you click the link and check it out. February 4th.
Being in the sky has always moved me. Something about looking down at all the people whose many problems appear so big from the ground. It's in moments like this I realize the profound truth that up here our big problems appear so small. Perhaps our problems are not nearly so big. Perhaps we are not nearly so high as we ought to be. Elevate.